On behalf of the Louisiana Center for the Book in the State Library of Louisiana, thank you for joining us for this virtual 2021 Louisiana Book Festival presentation. This program is the Louisiana Poet Laureate Presents Louisiana Poets, featuring Gina Ferrara, David Havird, Rodger Kamenetz, Julie Kane, Dorie LaRue, Cleopatra Mathis, Patrice Melnick, and Martha Serpas. Each of these poets will be introduced by Dr. Mona Lisa Saloy, current Louisiana State Poet Laureate. Dr. Mona Lisa Saloy, author, folklorist, educator, and scholar of Creole culture and articles, documentaries, and poems about Black New Orleans before and after Katrina, is currently Conrad N. Hilton Endowed Professor of English at Dillard University and Louisiana Poet Laureate. Her first book, Red Beans and Ricely Yours, won the T.S. Eliot Prize and the Penn Oakland Josephine Miles Award. Her Second Line Home, celebrates New Orleans Black Creole culture. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Mona Lisa Saloy.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mona Lisa Saloy. As newest Poet Laureate of our beloved Louisiana, it is a wonderful treat to share these distinguished, talented, resident poets with audiences today. Welcome, all of you. We will begin and continue in alphabetical order. And once I complete the bios, authors will read again in alphabetical order. And wonderfully, you can see their names. So again, welcome to this event, and you are in for a treat. We'll begin with Gina Ferrara. Gina Ferrara lives and writes in New Orleans. She has 4 poetry collections: Ethereal Avalanche, Amber Porchlight, Fitting the Sixth Finger, and Weight of the Ripened. Her work has appeared in numerous journals, including Callaloo, the Poetry Ireland Review, the Tar Review Poetry. Most recently, her poetry was selected for publication in the 64 Best Poets of 2019 by Black Mountain Press. Since 2007, she has curated the Poetry Buffet, a monthly reading series in New Orleans. She teaches English and writing at Delgado Community College. After Gina, we have David Havrett. David Havrett is the author most recently of Weathering, Poems and Recollections, a chimeric omnibus of poetry and prose memoir. His poems and essays have appeared in such journals as the Hopkins Review, Literary Imagination, and the Yale Review, and in the anthology Hard Lines, Rough South Poetry. He has taught for 30 years at Centenary College of Louisiana and lives in Shreveport with his wife, the poet and novelist Ashley Mace Havird. Welcome. Rodger Kamenetz is next. Rodger Kamenetz taught poetry writing at LSU from 1981 to 2009 and is Professor Emeritus of English and Religious Studies. His 9 books of poetry include the most recently Dream Logic and Yonda. He is author of The Jew in the Lotus and The History of Last Night's Dream. He is founder of Natural Dream Work and teaches about poetry and dreams. You can find him online at Kamenetz.com. And I'm honored to say he was one of my professors. Next up is Julie Kane. Julie Kane's latest books are Mothers of Ireland, co-winner of the Poetry by the Sea Book Award, and a long list finalist for the Julie Suck Book Prize, and a new edition of her Donald Justice Prize-winning collection, Jazz Funeral. She was Louisiana Poet Laureate from 2011 to 2013 and is Professor Emerita of English at Northwestern State University in Natchitoches. She currently teaches in the low residency MFA program at Western Colorado University. Welcome, Julie. Next is Dorie LaRue. Dorie LaRue is author of 2 novels, Resurrecting Virgil and The Trouble with Student Affairs, 3 chapbooks, Seeking the Monsters, The Private Frenzy, and In God's Due Time. A full-length collection of poetry, Mad Rains, and a full-length collection of poems, An Enemy in Their Mouths. In 2019, she received 2nd place for Only Visiting This Planet, a short story collection, in the West Virginia Writing Awards. Her work has appeared in a variety of journals, including the Southern Review, the Maryland Poetry Review, and the Maryland Poetry Review, and the American Poetry Review, excuse me. Next, and welcome, Dorie. Next is Cleopatra Mathis. The founder of the creative writing program at Dartmouth College, Cleopatra Mathis was born and raised in Ruston, Louisiana, and has lived in New England since 1982. She is author of 8 books of poems. Her many awards and prizes include a Guggenheim Fellowship, 2 fellowships from the National Endowment for the Arts, and 2 Pushcart Prizes. Her poems have appeared in journals, magazines, and anthologies, including The New Yorker, 3-Penny Review, The Georgia Review, The Southern Review, Plowshares, Best American Poetry, and The Extraordinary Tide, Poetry by American Women. Welcome, Cleopatra. Next is Patrice Melnick. Patrice Melnick's publications include a poetry chapbook, The City of Hey Baby, a memoir, Po' Boy Contraband, From Diagnosis Back to Life. After earning an MFA from the University of Alaska Fairbanks, she hightailed it to New Orleans, then settled in South Louisiana. Patrice founded the Festival of Words in Grand Coteau, where she lives with her patient husband, Olan. For a day job, Melnick directs the Opelousas Museum. Welcome, Patrice. Next, and last but not least, is Martha Serpas. Martha Serpas has written 4 volumes of poetry, including The Dirty Side of the Storm and Double Effect. Her work has appeared in The New Yorker, The Nation, Poetry, and Southern Review. Active in efforts to restore Louisiana's wetlands, she co-produced Veins in the Gulf, a documentary about coastal erosion. Her beach shack muse, A Rough Draft, has been involuntarily removed from Grand Isle. She teaches at the University of Houston. Welcome, Martha.
Okay, well, hello everyone, and thank you, Mona Lisa, for inviting me to read with this wonderful group of poets. And also thank you to Robert Wilson and to Jim Davis and the Louisiana Book Festival. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. I'm going to read, start off with Weight of the Ripened. The book came out in March of 2020. And this poem is called A Reliable Luminosity. I want to listen to Ella Fitzgerald today. New Year is near and the world continues with its realities. The debates rage, a gun jams, too many go off. Too many mood and actual triggers that put us in the wrong state. Too many denials, too few conversations that lead to somewhere. I want to listen to Ella Fitzgerald today and imagine all the women in black dresses, the kind my mother wore, crepe or velveteen lined in satin, a pot de soie with a singular strand of pearls that holds a reliable luminosity. The men know the meaning of special occasions. Along with keys and 4-cornered cufflinks, they have chrome and stainless steel lighters. They remembered to buy flints and fluid on the way home. The pressed table linens come to chevrons, strategic diagonal points that graze the knees or shins as a given and only a given. Cocktail shakers make ice collide in hard consonants with bitters and bourbon almost in unison. Mostly everyone is drinking scotch on the cusp of finishing the first round. The candles flicker, but not with the same brightness or virtuosity of Ella, whose notes and improvised syllables elicit applause during and after every song. Living with the river. To flood, to recede, to fill each epoch. The river wants what it wants to meet the gulf by cumulative immeasurable seconds, inflicted, infected, reluctant to heal from a wound, a deeply given gash. By sun and moonlight, the river is many shades of dried blood, passing the marshes, the mangroves, the empty estuaries, and the barrier islands, becoming less pluralized, once lined like blades, ready to scale fish, peel citrus, and shear cyclones. The river deliberates and wants to shift, to form its own opinion, to renege on its unmade promise, a matter of course, absent of guidance, with the telepathic current, to find and flow by fate in just the right way. And I have a poem that I wrote in honor of LaRue, the great New Orleans poet who we lost earlier this year. This is called Lee's House on Lesseps. Decades on the edge, you lived before it was vogue, near the traps and wharf. Newness and gentrification, gray-brown edifices, now common as crumb-seeking sparrows. Unlike your house, the color of retro starlit lipstick, a fading scarlet scarf, flimsy chiffon grasped between fingers just before flight, where a lone magnolia provides side yard shade. The sidewalk heaves, ultimately breaks. Spiked verdigris follows its own current, an iron fence without the river as guide. Ships lack the silence of spirits. They blast, bellow extended enunciations before the drawbridge lifts in deliberate acts, a rusted clasp of finality after they pass. And then this last poem, I've been, obviously, since we've been so close to home because of the pandemic, it really causes us, I think, to pay even more attention to the world around us. This is called Ode to Crepe Myrtles. The crepe myrtles did not bloom as usual on Wisner. Their crinkled, crimped canopies of white, fuchsia, and other variations of pink. A roll call of orange, red, associations of fire, always absent. Every year, my aunt in California would come to her birth city, a mission each June, though scentless. She said they were not covert, high tea attire, obvious for miles. The smooth bark, pristine as unused soap, peeling away with the ease of an onion, or apple skin. The abundance of her favorite trees, that aunt, that astonishment, that flowering, allocated to a quick snapshot, not septic, a moment in memory, colorized, prophetic in fading hues. Thank you.
I think I'm up. I'm David Havird, not Ashley Mace Havird. I'm in Ashley's office and using her computer, but anyway, I'm David. I'm delighted to be here. The title of my book is Weathering, which is what you all down south have been doing a lot of lately. I'm going to read two weather-related poems. The first poem takes place in the Caymans, which were laid waste by Hurricane Paloma in 2008. The character in the poem can't sleep. He tries to keep his thoughts elevated, but whenever the AC cycles off, he hears a rasping sound and remembers what the manager said about rats. And when it pushes on, he pictures the damage done by Paloma. A discerning friend informed me that the poem was really about global warming. I suppose it is. It's called Hurricane Proof. That rasp, the ceiling fan or rats? At night, rats climb the palms, the manager said. Don't sleep with the doors to the balcony open. Besides, sea wind salt, everything metal, it rusts. She rapped the glass. Paloma proof. The AC whooshes on. In your mind's eye, Paloma's heap, twisted siding, splintered boards, ragged sheetrock, glass-toothed mountains. Fix though you would that eye on birds, blue sky, white loops of flight, white baton tails and narrow blades of black-tipped wings and orange beaks. Strain though you do to train your ear on their reedy chirps, beside the limestone bluff whose seams they jet into and nest within. That season's rental bulldozed off, the concrete slab scraped clean. Or hold in view the AC cycling off that rasp, the morning's yellow-crowned night heron, towing on yellow marsh reed legs the lip of the pool, and piercingly eyeing there. It stabs, beaks up with that black beak which spears the crabs that cloister themselves in a salvage of shells from the locals' harvest of sea snails, a gurgling throatful of water. Red hermits amassing at sundown under the fronds, where you, the two of you, it was as though the sunset, while it impassioned you and this other snoring beside you, whose sleep is hurricane-proof, hemorrhaged claws, a tide that armored itself in spiral shells for its incursion inland. The next poem, which takes place on an island in Greece. In this next poem, wind becomes a metaphor for the challenges that complicate a marriage, and at the same time, the creative energy. This is called Wedding Wind. Beyond the pines, which hid except for the chimney, a closed-off season beachside taverna. From up on the slope where relics ourselves, we lodged in a derelict windmill. The blue looked firm enough to float a rock without a ripple of gaze, as though white rose savior from the solid blue of the bay to shelves of bluer schist, a pilgrim on up to the whitewashed church on its finger of rock, to exchange with the icon a kiss for a healing look from the Virgin. Wind evening. We took our sunset walk around the wind-chopped cove, sailboat pitching cove, along the cliffside path, despite not only the wind, but also the crowd thronging the church. A wedding, yes. Among the dusty cars that choked the lot was one in a wind-whipped frenzy of streamers. The spirit aroused, of course, in us, vision of us. By 10 electric guitars were yowling. The pines, were they dancing with wind or light from the woken taverna? The wind swelled with the odor of meat fat sizzling on coals. The taverna was smoking. Or wasn't it thunder that shook us? That fiendish, vibrating bass, and cats, the feral ones fed by our landlord to battle the vipers, serpents of lightning. In bed, as though on board, we drowsily hoisted a sail too suddenly pregnant with wind. Our rope-burned hands like urgent semaphores, like creaking blades, up on the slope, conducting the wind. Thanks.
Okay, I'm going to have that terrible thing, a barking dog, but so what? Dog bark, poets read, and we'll move on. Thank you, Mona Lisa and Robert and Jim Davis. And it's so nice to see so many of you who I know and a few I haven't seen in a long time. So I live down the street from the Blessed Father Xavier Selos Catholic Church in Bywater. And this poem is it's called The Miraculous Time Capsule. The time capsule outside of Father Selos's church was full of 1950. It was round like a mouth in the ground, a cement mouth. Every day I walked past it, dreaming of the treasure. But what was it really? Hubcaps? Scapulars? Had they taken a religious turn with an eye to eternity? Or were there roller pins, an early pizza box, a Fats Domino 45? One day I walked past and the mouth was gone. I had forgotten the date of the opening and so many other dates. They were all buried somewhere. Someone was walking over them right now. Father Selos still waits to be a saint, and my memories also wait for redemption. At night, they go out on walks, sometimes just to stretch their legs. When you're buried long enough, you become as anonymous as just before you were born. When did I swallow my first time capsule and dream myself alive in minutes, hours, days? The Crown of Iron. I should say these poems are from the book that's behind me, The Dream Logic, that came out last year. The Crown of Iron, Lives of the Ego. The old crown I was wearing crumpled. Its gold was too loud. They fit me for a new crown of dust. I wore it everywhere, the microscopic skin of happy humans. Now I was forced to celebrate. My unhappiness was a mockery made happy with a crown. In the Garden of Delights, I sat on a throne of thorn. I was king for a day. The sun set in my heart and it burned. For a moment, my form hovered in the black air called night, then vanished. I was forgotten. I even forgot myself. This is called Lullabiography. And it's actually in two voices, which you'll quickly understand. A son and a mother. They say the angels are singing to you in heaven, mother. They say the lords of squat rule here below. Who are the lords of squat? I want their names. You would only squander them. I patrol the streets in my fluff armor, leading an army of fluff. Only the owl sees I am a knight. The lords of squat sit in their rue. They are high up, penthouse high, but they aren't in heaven, mother. I wonder what you thought, giving birth to me. Giving birth in wonder, your love was like a magnet seizing me. My earth now is you. Who are the lords of squat? I want their names. Hush, boy, you would only squander them. Your lips are moving, mother, in the heaven of names, in the words of drizzle. Hush, boy, I'm tired now. Heaven is for sleep. Let me sleep. This is called Pepper with That. It's for Moira, my wife, Moira Crone. Just add no, the directions said, and the cake exploded. That's life, said life, but no hid inside life like a little death. You need a little no like black pepper on mashed potatoes. The potatoes taste the same, but the pepper pivots tongue. Last night I was so alone I showed my heart to a stranger. He was tender with me and handled me gently. He wheeled me into the emergency room where they poured pepper on all my wounds. That was the cure. Can you imagine? I shower in pepper, pepper and tears. I was looking for love and I found you, so that must be working. Call the ambulance. I'm about to collapse in your arms. So this one is not in the book. It's called The Protocol. When you reach the end of the line, take your wattle basket, your Pomeranian, your apple or other hand fruit, and walk slowly. You will find gravity has failed slightly here, and time itself is a disease. Please don't wobble. The pleasant young woman who waits by the tracks to greet you will hand you the secret of death in an envelope. Note the handwritten note, a personal touch. Yes, they have prepared for you alone, number 3,730,300,041. You are no more anonymous than anyone. See the signature of splendor in the cartouche? You were asked certain questions of life, even if you failed generally, so be prepared to sing the answers. Your song, individual and miniature as birdsong, will join the chorus. A band of trumpets and tubas will chortle along. You will feel unsteady, queasy. Hold your breaths or count them. Watch your thoughts rise like bubbles at the bottom of a flute of fine champagne. Did you expect they would never end? The last bubble unseats itself, rises bravely without waver, and joins the mother air. The Pomeranian barks. I guess I'll finish with this poem. It's for a dear friend, David Shapiro, who has often written about the Disney character Goofy, so I thought I would kind of respond to that. And this poem's called The Metaphysics of Goofy. When is a dog not a dog? There's a dog in this space named Pluto. Does Goofy walk Pluto? The silence of Pluto hints eternity, though I'm allergic to hints. Whether you exist or not, what is absolute? Does Goofy so wonder? Does Goofy know he exists? Mickey's squeak never doubts. Donald's spit-flecked quack struggles. Holding hands, they look to the stars. Does vastness exist, or is it a human construct? Does a duck have hands? Why does he wear a top but no bottom? Is there a bottom to every top? Our concepts, all cartoons, wish hard dark lines. But they're just ideas, noble or goofy. Dawn hurries to replace us all with light.
Mm.
All right, I'm Julie Kane, and I'm lucky enough right now to have two books out recently. Mothers of Ireland came out from LSU Press in 2020, and this is the second edition of Jazz Funeral, which you might know was long out of print. But new edition with some tweaks to the poems is out with this ugly bean green cover from Red Hen Press. So I'll read 2 short poems from each one, starting with Her Heart, which is about my grandmother's sister, Julia Margaret Lynch Curtin. My grandmother's sister, Julia, was born with a flaw in her heart. The doctor's words to her parents tore like a claw to the heart. Head of her bed by a window, no winter thaw for the heart. Never to wed because childbirth would be the last straw for her heart. Rumors her father punched at least one suitor's jaw for her heart, but a red-headed traveling salesman would not withdraw from her heart. Swearing his love was chaste and he'd keep hands off for her heart. Swearing on Mary and Jesus with one freckled paw on his heart. How could her bantamweight father not go soft in the heart? Beautiful bride, such a chorus of oohs and ahs from all hearts. When her belly poked out, it proved there is no law to the heart. Julia's motherless boys would grow up raw in the heart. And this is a villanelle for all those who've had difficult mothers. It's called I Dreamed of Being Mothered by a Cat. I dreamed of being mothered by a cat, sunk in her plush as in a feather bed. I'd never known a happiness like that. My human mother's claws would not retract. Even her language could unzip her red. I dreamed of being mothered by a cat who'd give her life to save me from attack. I sensed that fierceness in her as I fed. I'd never known a happiness like that. If there were siblings, I ignored that fact. I had her to myself, or I'd forget the whole time I was mothered by a cat. One dream can strike you like a thunderclap. That mother cat, more goddess than a pet. I'd never known a happiness like that. The world was pure sensation, not abstract, some realm between the living and the dead. I dreamed of being mothered by a cat, and something healed inside me after that. Okay, and 2 little ones. Thanks. 2 little ones from Jazz Funeral. This is Rising and Falling. Why not say falling out of love, the truth, and rising into love, like other things, soap bubbles, dust motes, helium balloons, and bird or Icarus or insect wings that yank the stupid kite strings of the heart by catching giddy updrafts while they last, before they plummet back where all flights start in a smooth landing or a fatal crash. It's true. One time I logged 11 years of soaring thermal currents fancy-free before I saw the telltale signs appear that meant he'd fallen out of love with me. Don't trust the crap you read about in rhyme. Gravity will win out every time. And this is used book. What luck. An open bookstore up ahead as rain lashed awnings over Royal Street, and then to find the books were secondhand with one whole wall assigned to poetry. And then, as if that wasn't luck enough, to find between Jarrell and Weldon Keys the blue on cream familiar backbone of my chapbook, out of print since '83. Its cover very slightly coffee stained, but aging all in all, no worse than flesh through all those cycles of the seasons since its publication by a London press. Then, out of luck, I read the name inside, the man I thought would love me till I died. Thank you.
I guess I'm up next. Okay. This is from my book, An Enemy in Their Mouths. It was a chapbook inspired by the present drug epidemic. Back when I still went to the Bahamas. Back when I still went to the Bahamas with Randy, I understand now I was seeing my own future. And Straw Market, a zombied young man with great hollowed out eyes, a shoe-in for some Holocaust blockbuster, if Holocaust movies have blockbusters, young enough to be my son, there must have been crops somewhere, boats in the harbor he could be tending, sold me hematite, the healing stone, from which everything not a turtle was chipped away. He got his first price because he told me his brother OD'd just yesterday, and I never liked to haggle. They love to barter, must be made up by shrewd travel writers for tightwad tourists. I don't believe it. Whenever I pay the original price, no Bahamian has ever spit in my face or run down the beach screaming in frustration. He, the surviving bro, described the death size from the rough woven palette, the pupils, 2 black holes, I'm imagining now, mom, little sisters prostrate with grief. And as he spoke, his voice alternated softly with the other bargaining, profaning the air as white peopled, gathering their treasures from the emaciated paws of those with AIDS maybe, or in drug stupors, or both. It's always spring break in Nassau and always Hotel California on Paradise Island for some. Then Randy and me, you know your name means horny in Britain, I told him once, ducked out from under the sailcloth ceiling hung with baskets and glass jewels and irregular shells and wild-colored blankets and back scratchers and jolly caps sewn with fake dreadlocks into the open under a blue sky. How I begged my students never to write those 2 words together, but it was the blue of oxycodone, 30 milligrams I know now, and made our way to our hotel, number 3 on a list of what not to do in the Bahamas, stay in New Providence, between number 2, rent a jet ski, and number 4, miss out on the conch. Horny and me hopped in a taxi without negotiating, number 5, and all along the original price was holed up, sleeping like a crocus, and I held on to my stone turtle, which seemed to be slightly trembly, as totem creatures are when the world around them has been hacked away. This is all the mothers. All the mothers in Al-Anon resemble piatas. The fathers are invisible, or when they do appear, they smack of having been dragged, of being inevitable, of clinging to one last macho bootstrap they are trying in vain to bequeath to the sons or the daughters who have brought them to their knees. If the mothers are piatas, the father are Ed Sullivans, elbows metaphorically akimbo, stiffs at best, barely faking cooperation for this really big shoe. The piatas are enablers, messes, know-nothings, wannabes, sorcerers, teeth gnashers, causers, curers, beggars, pleaders, page-turners, shriekers par excellence. They weep. This morning, my son was given 2 to 5 prison time. I was actually happy when my daughter was locked up. I thought if his own child would make him stop using. My ex-husband and his stepfather have given up. There's another one I most admire in her PF rags and tasteful gold chains. I cannot imagine her wailing in confusion at whatever haughty Holocaust has presented itself. I cannot fathom her gormless, gauche, and choking on shame and rage. Softly strong and thoughtful, most likely wearing matching underwear, she quotes Marcus Aurelius, A Course in Miracles, an attic in the house, none of which any of the rest of us has cracked. But tonight, under a curling yowl and stereo, we cross an event horizon together, fall toward the center of a black hole, stretched, bifurcated, and split into 8 parts. We're spaghettified in a place where gravity is so fierce, light cannot escape. Something deforms, and it is not space-time. I think it is our hearts. Our hearts are burning up in quarky conflagration. And though Stephen Hawkins, before he died, came up with a way to escape a black hole, in my panic, I disremember. You see, tonight, her son is dead. Long ago, I came to believe in the avuncular nature of God, dim bulbs, using us poor saps for vehicles to expand his or her experience. My mantra became, who's afraid of non-duality? Which would make this God-driven monolith simply a psychobabbly spouting slab. Strange gift. You should have shrieked, though changing nothing with the heart records must count for something. It's just nature, says some YouTube commenters. It's just nature, says some YouTube commenters, when hyenas eat a still standing, still fighting buffalo, starting with the testicles. And it's nature again when a male bull elephant and mush whacks a baby into the air to attract the attention of its mother. All you bleeding heart liberal vegans can go to hell, they say, which must be nature. Some days it seems nature is everywhere. Maybe Pearl Harbor was nature then, and Afghanistan, the Gulf War, Kennedy's November, Columbine. Maybe lonely drunks are nature, or maybe buttering up your professor is nature, and matched luggage that falls from a balcony and kills your cat. And fever charts and Pate's pale, painful history, and room temperature Chablis decanted too soon, a romaine salad hiding botulism, and people who drive in the slow lane, and 1 week brides and their grooms dead on the turnpike, their necks snapped like carrot sticks. Maybe wife beaters are nature, child beaters, and dogs who lie down in fear in cages in the laboratory, and the daughter in the subway who jumped on top of her mother after she was pushed onto the tracks by a crazy. Maybe the train severed her spine, her arms, 1 white running shoes, her life as legal secretary with thankfully disability. Maybe nature was the crazy who couldn't afford bullets, but moved from the shadows, his arms rising like smooth rifles. All things considered, there seems to be no news in nature. Maybe we should say it's just history biding its time. Children starving in Ethiopia could be nature, and women executed in Afghanistan with loose stones from labyrinths we'll never solve is nature. Doctors, our friendly neighborhood drug dealers with their own original art and their diluted waiting rooms and trips to Cancun with their third wives and children at Harvard and Yale, must be nature. Maybe in medieval times, female nature, once perverse but become holy by chastity, was nature. And female nature, once chaste but become perverse by holiness, was nature. Maybe 1,500 years later, drug addicts and their dealers must be just nature. I went once to the well and drew a dream babe from the sweet green waters, a little Icarus. Oh, darling, I must not have done all the right things, which was just nature. Unknown to me, nature waited, gracefully calculating, like some mama real vain musician, quietly tuning his rent-to-own instrument. I made a promise I'd fill an empty lake for you if I had to, build an ark from empty kegs, steal a wheat field in the midst of famine. But it was undermined by some big shot God with his finger on the scale. God must be nature then. To try to beat nature back with a stick must be nature. Among the paradoxes of modern society, a woman in San Francisco spies an image of Christ in a potato chip, and eBay makes her a millionaire. A 20-year-old in Boston refuses his antipsychotics, which diminishes the voices he hears, and is promptly detained. How do we know he's not the Messiah? Let's give him his point. Take your seats, please, ladies and gentlemen. Jesus has left the building. To be sure, St. Paul's mood ranged from ecstatic to tears of sorrow. We'd call them marked mood swings in some circles, accompanied as they were by sublime auditory and visual perceptions, grandiose hallucinations, delusional thought content. The man was informed by a talking donkey, for Christ's sakes. He wrote 70,000 words and letters regularly on papyrus no peasant could afford. Marcion may have gone a little bit overboard there. Just a few eons ago, we had the slackers, the bullies, the shy, the dreamers, the cut-ups. But if you call their number today, motivationally disordered, oppositionally defiant, panic syndrome, attention deficit, and all poised to gulp the promises of a drug-based paradigm of care, fueling the present plague. Seems as though after decades of cutting-edge pharmacology, we're getting nowhere, spending more on drugs than Cameroon's gross domestic product. Yet walk on we must among the broken glass of theory. To be crazy in a safe place is no longer an option. We're doomed to progress. We're deranged by progress. While in India, folks grow out of schizophrenia, and in Nigeria, bipolar is baby talk soon forgot. How? Chanting, mantras, sacred snake dances, human stained thumbs, Mongolian camel underwear, or just space and the absence of medical breakthroughs. Gone are the days we pulled our cures from fiction and philosophy and art. Poor Tolstoy, if he'd been born in the 20th century. Poor Socrates, poor Picasso, poor Heidegger. Now the DSM-V puts us in categories, creates our parameters of normal. After all, everybody knows Jesus was suicidal with every chance possible to escape. I often consider the men who created him full of high rhetoric, crafting their astral projection. They lit a dark corner of the world, little knowing his hubris was this: suicide by proxy. Isi homo, they said, which translates thus: now look at him, just look at him. Thank you.
I'm Cleopatra Mathis, and I'm very pleased to be here today. I wish I were in Louisiana right now. I haven't been there for the whole pandemic. It seems like a long time. My thanks go to Mona Lisa and Robert for taking care of getting me here. It's wonderful to be here. My new book, it's After the Body, new and selected poems that came out last year in the middle of the pandemic, of course. So I'm going to read just from that. I'm going to read mainly just from the few poems, just a few poems from the very beginning of the book, which are the new poems. They mostly have to do with illness and death, and particularly Parkinson's, which I was diagnosed with about 8 years ago. The difference. Terrifying to have oneself give way. Old boat, which has carried me around, stubborn at the helm. Self, the great spirit finder, haphazard navigator. In the end, a hand dragging in the water. Energy, I thought, was her great strength, her voice chattering under the whip of wind. Meanwhile, out here in the complicity and amplitude, brazen in their plainness, fin and wing and wave are one moment of action. Hawk takes off with a nestling, then the hammering dive of a plover's chase. Gull after gull drops the clam on the rocky flats and knows how to peck out the salty meat. Over and over, nature does one thing, and this is the difference. I, who have lived my life intent on direction, now I am blank. No destination after all. And she whom I called desire, called must and act, oh, goodbye, that idea striking me with her impertinence, her stone. I also have symptoms of dyskinesia with Parkinson's, and it's sort of random movements. Your body doesn't seem to have any control over your arms and legs and hands, and they sort of fly out at random moments. This poem's called Arm, Etc. Arm has become her own machine, stuck on the job of reaching, all the rules broken and some other language dragged from the depths. The brain's got secrets that even Arm doesn't know. Arm no longer cares for anything Hand might want to do, and Hand gets pulled along. Sullen child, poor Hand, caught in a vise, stiffened by its throb and drum. Arm still insisting, holding Hand behind my back, mad tapping to keep from being dragged away. What a story. Me walking with a stick along the beloved beach, and Arm refuses, starts up, directing the waves, flying out in the good beach air as we all try to look away. Can't stop, says Hand. Can't balance, Leg says. This is how the body wakes me up, and this is how she knocks me down. This sorrow is all about my mother. Did I not believe her stuttered spoon to mouth, soup on the floor, her level black eye entering me? She could slap my face now, Hand could, in this boring chorus of saying. But sometimes Hand flies up to pat my shoulder or curls close by my side, pretends to sleep. Sweet pet doesn't want Arm to make me weep. Then when I forget, Hand runs off, slams the glass, the plate, the sink. And as for the little slave fingers in the grab, they just let go. mother. When I can't walk, I think of you. I catch your light in my mirror and see it find my sallow cheek, the failing line of jaw. Without looking, I can feel that grimace or wince overtake me. Just a second's worth of you and the future of my face. Nothing fails to remind me. A finger on my arm, a twisting in my back when I turn too fast and fall. Tired of my arrogance, you are behind me, with time to show me how you felt to be a shell left empty and waiting. So it is that I steer my body out of the crowded what has been. Because of you, I've come to love a broken thing. Silver. The design I see is extraordinary. Why watch for hummingbirds when I am caught by the spider web strung in 3 layers outside my kitchen door? Silver linking silver fence, its chain anchoring one end, the roof's overhang studded twice. A geometric pattern, a trick of light this hot morning after a hot night. The net holds a constellation of tiny bugs, inconsequential flights that ended here, a white moth spinning. And as I look closer, 3 long silver hairs, my own, I have to assume, migrated from my deck chair and made pure and purposeful. I'm in a kind of sleep, so think to free the fluttering caught thing. The moth's wing falls off in my hand. Poor thing, I tell myself, wake up. And this is the last poem in the book, which is from my previous book, Book of Dog. Survival, a guide. It's not easy living here, waiting to be charmed by the first little scribble of green. Even in May, crows want to own the place, and the heron, old bent thing, spends hours looking like graying bark, part of a dead trunk lying over opaque water. She strikes the pose so long, I begin to think she's determined to make herself into something ordinary. The small lakes continue their slide into bog and muck. Remember when they ran clear, an invisible spring renewing the water? But the ducks stay longer, amusing ruffle and chatter. I can be distracted. If I do catch her move, the heron appears to have no particular fear or hunger. Her gaunt body hinged haphazardly, a few gears unlocking, one wing, then another. More than a generation here, and every year more drab. Once I called her Blue Heron, as in great blue, true to a book, part myth, part childhood's color. Older now, I see her plain, a mere surviving against the weedy bank with fox dens and the ruthless overhead patrol. Some blind clockwork keeps her going. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Hi, fellow poets. I'm very honored to read with you today. Thank you, Mona Lisa Saloy. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Louisiana Book Festival. Today, I'm going to read from that city of Hey Baby. This is called Trash Day. By the time I got home, my trash can was melted down. I pulled up in my Toyota truck, sweating in my dress with the blue and white stripes that I'm told makes me look like a prison mom. And I saw this cruddy green disc by the curb. I thought someone's car had rolled over it, squashed it flat, But when I pulled close, I saw this glob of melted plastic, like an ugly ceramic ashtray with burnt up black stuff inside, the grass singed brittle, like hair caught in an oven blaze. I tried to imagine, not bums gathered around a burning trash to keep warm, not in midsummer, and they would use a metal can. Maybe the garbage heated up enough to catch. Or did the lid blow off and a broken beer bottle upside down with concave bottom caught in the sun's light, an urban magnifying glass, like in the cartoons where poof, fire ignites instantly? What if that white beam caught fire to a "you may already be a winner" clearinghouse sweepstake announcement, and this caught another and another, and the whole can blazes, the plastic melts like caramel? Damn kids, I heard. Nothing to do, just wanted to see something burn. But that black smoke swelling upward must have been extraordinary. Refrigerator lesson. After Hurricane Katrina, all the refrigerators in town turned sour, became Petri dish canisters, cooking raw sides of meat, gently rotting fish, simmering tubs of sour cream. The only thing to do for your internally blossoming fridge was to duct tape it shut like a rancid clam. You must learn to roll it to the street, park it by the curb for pickup. I still dream every night of mountains of closed clams baking in the South Louisiana sun. Think of ripening meats and dented metal boxes bursting with despair. City of Hey Baby. New Orleans is a city of couch surfing, slipping in and out of a friend's house, turning the key that I've kept in the cup holder of my car for 10 years, the city where I no longer live since the storms. New Orleans is a city of waking to tense morning traffic over potholed streets, and fragrant corner coffee shops beckon, please come. New Orleans is a city of midnight port of call burgers in the joint where Janis Joplin wails from the jukebox, and drooping fishing nets that never touch seawater hang from ridge ceilings. And my burger is larger than is good for me, but this hunger calls and calls. New Orleans is a city of strolling streets, seeking gifts in cluttered shops, glancing back and forth to see who walks behind or in front of me, watching for the kind of guy who might cut my purse strings and run. New Orleans is a city of flaming confetti and wide window laughter that spills onto the sidewalk. And years ago, my dog barked a warning at 3 a.m. until I awoke, moved to the living room, found a window pried wide open, a stranger's sneakers on the couch from feet that fled low dog bark, feet that would not fear me. New Orleans is a city of grease dripping on the grill at 24-hour coupes or Clover Grill, city of one long embrace of a former lover on a bicycle in the middle of a daiquiri-lined street on an unpredictable day. New Orleans is the city of Hey Baby, from the coffee shop waitress, the delivery man, the telephone operator, and hey baby, from men who follow and men who don't. And hey baby, flies from balconies and slowing cars, because hey baby means nothing and hey baby means too much. New Orleans is the city where I once cruised with bicycle boys through chaotic neighborhoods, over bridges, narrow sidewalks, cars flying past, and I was the only girl in the pack, riding with adult boys who jumped curbs and made eye contact, speaking to every single person we passed, carefree as they deterred the hey baby men who swallowed their words. I rolled forward in a bubble of maleness that let me cut through the streets like a shark, with no hey babies to be decoded, no need to consider which is a hey baby push and which a hey baby kiss. Thank you.
Thank you so much for including me in this group. I have every part of the Barataria Terrebonne estuary in mind, Lafourche Parish, Terrebonne Parish, and my neighbors on Grand Isle. So I want to read a poem that is actually extracted from something longer I've been working on for a couple of years, and then two poems from the Double Effect. Two poems from Double Effect that came out last fall. So this is the uncollected one. It's titled Grand Isle Invocation. It has an epigraph from the Orleans Audubon Society. Park near the cemetery where there is a playground and picnic tables. Some of the best birds of the day have been seen here while eating lunch. The warblers, vireos, and thrushes fall out their 3-day spring break drunk into oak and hackberry. They've stopped to see if the island is still dying, and since it is, they continue on. I too can be seen here, misplaced. Before I die, a single live oak will catch their exhaustion. They will cubby like high tops hung from the loneliest road in America. They will sing the LSU fight song and take the 18-hour flight, the red eye, back to Cancun. Pélican dans sa piété. Had you never been with me, I wouldn't hold your absence now. Had there never been a cord, I wouldn't have this scar, would I? Maybe it was the whirlwind of your blood, the amniotic undertow that had me so blasé. For you, it must have felt as if flesh were being plucked away. A drift line, a double heartbeat, a kerchief of hair. In secret, Betsy baptized me into this strange, sinful gulf. I know this much. Water is oak brown or steel gray, or so clear you see your nail beds dipping in the font. I've seen it rise in ditches or lap over levees or shank down from the sky. It hems me in like a country club towel. What should I have grown up on? Love? Double Effect, December 31st. And the epigraph from Aquinas. It is natural to everything to keep itself in being in as far as possible. Goodbye, year I almost died. The bridge closes behind you. In closing to you, it opens to me. a foreseeable but unintended consequence of your passing. The one-armed, tender, drunk, and mending nets will wave me through. Year I almost died, I pass you the peace. One day I'll forget who you are. Down the bayou, I make the veillée, turn down a shell road. I get down at the levee. I like to sit on the grass and be with the stars. I still like to drive the colors wild. I like to pray bromeliads on fire. Year I almost died, I curse and bless you for all your magic and all your monstrosities. The lizard that eats its own skin, the fern flaring after rain. And nights I laid my back on the waves. I laid my hands at my side, the darkness erasing the tracers. I stood on silver guardrails. I swallowed the streetlights, the coyotes in the mist-draped field. Year I almost died, you were that promising date that began with a chilled corsage and ended on a rainy doorstep without a kiss. You were that toast, that pyrotechnic display and its acrid smell. Year I almost died, we slept together in a twin bed while the dog curled on the floor. Oh, what a better companion he is. He rounds my sleep and covers my dreams. Year I almost died, the bridge closes behind you, and in closing, it opens for me. Thank you.
Thank you all. And let's give each other a hand. Wonderful readings. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Audience, find and enjoy these books. Gift them to loved ones and friends. Thank you to each gifted poet reading today: Gina Ferrara, David Havrett, Rodger Kamenetz, Julie Kane, Dorie LaRue, Cleopatra Mathis, Patrice Melnick, Martha Serpas. Thank you for this adventure into your fine, enlightening, healing, serious, touching, even silly moments of humanity, of life, of poetry. You are the gift of literary Louisiana, singing to all of us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Louisiana Endowment for the Humanities, for developing, fostering, promoting the Louisiana Poet Laureate position, and to Governor John Bel Edwards for participating, selecting the Poet Laureate. Thank you. Special thanks to Jim Davis, Director of the Louisiana Center for the Book at the State Library of Louisiana, and Robert Wilson, Assistant Director, Louisiana Center for the Book at the State Library of Louisiana. Together, both talented gentlemen bring us the Louisiana Book Festival. This year we are virtual, but thanks to Jim and Robert, we are here. So here's a toast from all of us to future live events where we can mingle, meet audiences, autograph books, and walk the lovely gardens of our state, Louisiana State Capitol, and the State Library. So everyone, stay safe, be well, and mask like it's Mardi Gras.
Thank you for watching this presentation of the virtual 2021 Louisiana Book Festival. Please visit our official bookseller, Cavalier House Books, and receive 20% off all featured festival titles through the end of the year. A special thank you to our festival sponsors. The Louisiana Book Festival will return on October 29th, 2022.